Greetings and welcome to the Dr. J Vlog series. It is Saturday, October 4th, 2025, and on Saturdays we talk about sports and interject some humor, sometimes. And at the close of this week's vlog series, we've been talking about genius all week. So I want to talk today a little bit about genius in sports, or athletic genius, if you will. So one of the most prominent features of genius of all kinds, at least from an intelligence and an IQ standpoint, involves pattern recognition. So to what extent and how quickly can you analyze the information in front of you to determine whether or not there's a particular pattern? And then can you anticipate what are the possible opportunities or the consequences that might happen in light of that pattern? So in other words, what's the next step in the pattern or sequence, or what should logically follow? So in my view, in addition to obviously having tremendous athleticism, the smartest athletes are those that possess a kind of athletic genius, and they can also evaluate them. By that I mean they can evaluate the situations, the conditions, etc., that they're going to confront or that they do confront in their competitions, and then they can quickly and intelligently adapt and respond in an optimal fashion. And that includes individual sports as well, like the middle distance runner, Cole Hocker. Some of you may know him. He's or might have seen him in the Olympics last year. But he's the equivalence, I think, of a genius in his field, because at both the 2024 Olympic Games and then again at this year's World Championships, he was able to evaluate the pace, what was happening with the running pack in general that he was running with. He looked for slight openings that might increase his advantages. And again, remember, these are all the best in the world. These are the elite runners. And then he was able to perfectly time his kicks so that he pulled out gold medal performances. And so he won the 1,500 meter gold at the Olympics in 2024. And then he won the 5K gold most recently at the World Championships. And I'll leave a link or two in the description below from YouTube, and you can look at these races. And I think, again, you'll see the kind of genius involved that I'm talking about, because it was through his calculations and his mind, I would argue, even more so than his physical abilities, that he was able to beat arguably several better runners, at least based on their best ever performances, best times ever, past performances in general. So something incredible was he's able to he has a great kick to begin with, but again, I think it's his intelligence as a runner that allowed him basically to win these gold medals. There's again a genius in all kinds of different sports. Some of you may recall Greg Maddux, the incredible baseball pitcher, Peyton Manning, the football quarterback, both of whom repeatedly would display genius in their reads of their game situations, and then their ability to leverage that knowledge to distinct advantage. And again, many other athletes obviously as well. There's Wayne Gretzky in hockey. I think I've mentioned before. He studied the game even as a child, as a youngster, and then he was able to, and obviously he had incredible physical abilities as well, but he was able to understand then the physics, if you will, of the puck, as well as the positioning of the players on the ice. And, he wasn't the biggest by any stretch. He wasn't the fastest skater. He wasn't the most skilled person ever, but he became the Great One. It's his nickname. I think because of his uncanny ability to read the ice, to create something incredible seemingly out of nothing. Most of us mortals wouldn't be able to see, if you will, what Wayne Gretzky was able to see on the ice. And again, there are so many great athletes in all these different sports, and to my view, they both have the incredible athletic ability that allows them to excel, but also it's matched, I think, with this pattern recognition abilities, at least within their specific sports, right? So think again of the incredible basketball players, right? The LeBron Jameses, the Larry Birds, and the Magic Johnsons. Again, these are great athletes, but they're certainly much better basketball athletes than each of those three players I've just mentioned. But they excel, in my view, not just because of their abilities within their sports, their shooting ability. LeBron's actually a freak of nature athletically too. But I think that they excel, and many others like them, because of their pattern recognition abilities. And so I want to just highlight just a bit more one particular sports genius, the basketball player who won more NBA championships than any other. Yeah, some of you will know that would be Bill Russell. He passed away on July 31st, 2022, just over 3 years ago at the age of 88. But he won 11 championships in his 13 years of professional basketball. And sure, it was in the 1950s and the 1960s when winning a championship was arguably much easier than today. But still, I don't think you'd be exaggerating to make the claim that what Bill Russell was able to do on the basketball court was no less genius than what might be admired in a chess player or a great physicist. So in other words, if you're talking about pure athletic greatness, well, Russell wasn't really even that close, I don't think, physically, to the most dominant big man of his era, one Wilt Chamberlain, who once averaged, some of you know, over 50 points a game for an entire season. Russell never even averaged 20 points a game for a season. But Russell won the 11 championships, as I mentioned, in 13 years. Wilt only won 2, including one after Russell had retired. So again, to my way of thinking, the greatest athletes in professional sports come to dominate not just because of their natural and their acquired abilities. They train incredibly hard as well, but especially the specific skill sets that are required within their sports. But in addition, they have a real genius for pattern recognition and real-time within-game forecasting abilities. So Bill Russell, again, is a classic example of that. He saw the patterns at play on a consistent basis within the basketball game. So when he played defense, he knew not only where the ball was going, but typically where the players would be going, what their best options might be in a given situation. Then how could he best deny them the opportunity to score? So that's genius in and of itself. But he took the concept, I think, one step further. What do I mean? Well, he didn't, for example, just block a shot and knock it out of bounds. Hey, so you stopped the possession. You kept them from scoring. Instead, what he would try to do was, if he blocked a shot, he also tried to do it in such ways that he hoped to get the ball to one of his teammates at the same time, right? So, you're denying the opposition their opportunity, but at the same time, you're increasing your own team's opportunity to get out in transition. So, this is how, to my way of thinking, this is the way in which Bill Russell was able to manifest such incredible genius as a basketball player. So again, the broader and the deeper genius in sports involves figuring out then how to optimize your results through the computerized brains that you have operating, right? And then align your actions almost instantly or instinctually, if you will, in terms of what you should do to help yourself or to help your team get further ahead. And so if you watch any fast-moving sports played at the highest level, you're going to appreciate how players are accomplishing these incredible feats under duress, under the bright lights, and all of which requires split-second decision-making. And to my way of thinking, these are nothing short of incredible intellectual feats. So interestingly, our growing appreciation, I think, of the intellectual side of sports in part comes from video games, right? Which now, by the way, host their own tournaments as well. But what I mean by that is that we've always known that the best chess players, for example, have these brilliant minds. But then we figured out how to program computers so that they could analyze millions of moves per second, and they still had a heck of a time beating the best humans. And so we realized then just how brilliant the Kasparovs and the Bobby Fishers truly were, and their equivalents folks today. And so similarly, there's something about playing a game and controlling multiple players and transforming a team, your own team, into this kind of beehive kind of like mind of coordination to fashion the perfect play. And to me, that's a form of genius. And most of us just can't do it, at least not at the highest levels and not on a par with the top athletes. Our experience is that the game usually just moves too fast. And in contrast, elite athletes talk about how everything seems to slow down, especially when they get in the zone, right? Even though, again, they might be flying across the field or across the court or the ice or what have you. I once asked a couple of our Western hockey players, because the University of Western Ontario have a really good hockey team typically, most years, and then many of their players play in the Ontario Hockey League, right? So pro league, just a notch below the NHL. And so I asked them about the difference between themselves and the elite players who make the NHL, because again, they would like to make it as well. I said, well, so what's the difference between the NHL players and guys like you? Because you guys are amazing. And they both responded almost simultaneously, almost at the same time. It's about 10%. So in other words, everything happens, but especially on the mental level, about 10% faster than even the top OHL players and Western hockey players and so on. So in short, at the highest level, professional sports are executed in a manner that's almost unrecognizable to how most observers might themselves have played or even observed firsthand. The best athletes operate sort of in the realm of the unfamiliar, just like the brilliant math teacher or the savant in almost any endeavor. They've reached a place that most of us just can't ever go. To the point where what they're doing seems completely unfamiliar, alien, and most importantly, unachievable. How do they do that? So yes, the athletic geniuses are truly exceptional, not just physically, but mentally, and then sometimes emotionally as well. They're able to slow everything down, identify the critical patterns, and then intervene in an optimal way. It depends on depending on what their sport demands. And so you might say sometimes that the brilliant play seemed to be more about luck and timing, and there's probably an element of truth to that, sure. But that luck and good timing are also a byproduct or a reflection of one's dedication to one's craft, and this notion of making one's own luck. And then the genius to me is the ability then to identify and and then make the most of that fleeting moment of opportunity. That's the genius. So call it luck, but to me, it's much more about athletic genius, if you will. And some people, they have that in spades, as we like to say. Just like some people have the ability to solve these seemingly impossible math riddles or anything else that you might like to call genius. So to me, that's the part of the sports that I guess I still to this day I continue to sort of enjoy the most, if you will, watching people perform at the highest levels possible through their unique capacities then for pattern recognition and how they're able to adapt to and respond to their environments in real time. And, basically they have to execute at the highest level in a split second what most of the rest of us didn't even see as a possibility. And I love seeing people do that, right? And in my eyes, or maybe our eyes, I love seeing them do what seems to be impossible, if you will. All right, so that's it for today. As ever, may you and yours continue to create peace in your lives, nurture love in your hearts, and dole out hugs in abundance. And week number 40 of the Dr. J Vlog series starts tomorrow. So 280 shows in a row, 280 days and counting. Well, we'll see you tomorrow.